What's up, Markowitz team? Mac Rotwald here. I am so jacked to be able to share with you, and what an honor and a privilege it is to be able to share with you. I got to tell you something. Elena and I have been preparing for this conference for so long. And Kristen, I just want to say this. Thank you so much for the kind words. I know that they're heartfelt. I really appreciate that. You and Joel are good personal friends of ours, and thank you so much for that. So I want to get into this. I don't have a talk for you. I just want to share from my heart. Is it okay if I do that? Just like I'm sitting across the table from you, I just want to be able to speak to you friend to friend. I don't know how else to do it. So let me take you back in time, just real quick. 1998, late December 1998. I mean, what do you think the weather was like in Minnesota late December 1998? Snowy, right? So I had a bunch of meetings booked, bunch of plans booked, and I had my upline, Jim Fitzgerald, coming in. Now, I was in the northern suburbs at this point in time. I was about maybe an hour and a half, close to 2 hours away from my upline. And I got to tell you something, Jim would not be denied. He would not be denied. Even though he was 2 hours away from me, the forecast said that we were going to get 2 feet of snow. Now, this was a long time ago. Technology has improved a lot. They were able to track the weather a lot more today than they were back then. And so we ended up getting close to 4 feet of snow. And in fact, I remember Jim had to pull over at a gas station and use a payphone. Remember those things? And called me up, called the restaurant. They got me on the restaurant phone and he said, "Hey, I'm running about 2 hours behind, but I'm going to be there." Okay, you know what's interesting? Jim showed up. None of my prospects did, but Jim showed up. And I noticed something about Jim when he walked in through the door. This was only my third time seeing him in person. He was about 4 upline from me. Now, Jim at that point in time stood about 6'2", and he weighed about 140 pounds. He was battling cancer. Now, what I didn't know, but I know now, is the day prior to that, he had just had a full dose of chemotherapy, could hardly walk up the stairs in his house, and yet where was he that day, the next day? He was with me. Could have been anywhere he chose to be, could have been with his family. He was at a restaurant fighting 3 feet of snow to be with Matt Grotwald to show the plan to prospects that didn't even show up. But he did, and he knew that I was going to be there. I get emotional thinking about it. Let me ask you a question. Where did he learn that? Where do you learn to behave that way? Where do you learn to go the extra mile that way? Where does that come? Who does that? Where does that come from? Fast forward. So not too long ago, Elaine and I had the chance to go to Hawaii and hang out with some of our friends. I want to tell you about 3 experiences that I had in Hawaii, because I want to come back to Jim. So one experience was, I remember it like it was yesterday because it wasn't that long ago. I walked out of the hotel and I walked back towards the right side of the complex. That's where one of the pools was at. I caught wind that Larry was hanging out back there. So I walk around the corner and sure enough, as I round the corner, there's Larry. He's sitting on one of the cabana chairs. Sitting next to him is Alan Leiniger. You've got Brian McGrath over here. Mayak is sitting there, right? Joe Markowitz is pacing back and forth. He's contributing to the conversation. And so I get a chance to sit down right at the chair right next to Larry. And we just start having this conversation, 4, 5, 6 of us. We just start dialoguing about the business. We love talking about the business, right? It always ends up coming back to that. I just know this. Whenever you're excited about something, you want to talk about it. So here we are. And I don't know how it came up in conversation, but we started talking about the basics of building the business. And Larry just made a statement. I want to tell you about it, because it kind of tweaked my perspective a little bit. Again, nothing new. He just said it a little bit differently. And here's what the statement was that he said. He said, when we were doing the mechanics early on in the business, whether it was a phone call, a QI, whether we're contacting somebody or showing the plan, he said the phone call and the QI or the plan, it's for the prospect. You're doing the phone call for the prospect. It's for the name that's on the page. And I understand that, and I know that we know that. I know you know that, but I got to tell you something, I haven't always done that. I know early on in the business, I just wanted to sponsor somebody. And I know that you probably want to sponsor somebody, and yes, that's a good thing. We all want to sponsor people, right? We want to create more volume. We want to sell products. We want to grow our business. But I thought a lot about what Larry said, and it brought me back to this word called motive. And here's what I've learned, and here's what Larry reminded me of that day, is when your motive is about helping the person whose name is on the page that you're calling. When your motive is about, I want to help this guy that I'm going to show the plan to that lives 3 hours away, you're not afraid anymore. And in fact, quite frankly, you're inspired. Here's what I've learned as I just meditated on it more and more is that motive controls your standards. Motive is what ushers in bravery. Motive is what makes you want to be a better person. Motive is what makes you go the extra mile. Again, I go back to my upline, Jim Fitzgerald. That's one of the reasons that he was at that restaurant driving through the snow was because his motive was to help me. He was a living embodiment of what Larry Winters was talking about poolside in Hawaii. And I can't tell you how many times I've had conversations with Alan or with Joe or with Ross Coleman, and we've talked about helping other people and how we genuinely believe that this is a good business. You can make good money in this business, and there are good people in this business. But the way Larry said it that day, it just brought me back to motive. Okay. And I know this as a brand new business owner, one of the things that I wanted to do and I know you want to do is we just want to grow our business. But I will tell you this, when your mindset is, you're looking at that name on a page that you're going to call and your mindset is, I want to help that person. Understand what that does. When you're able to help somebody and their life starts to change and you give them the opportunity, when you give them an opportunity to improve their life with a tremendous business like the Amway business, when you present that and they walk through the threshold of that opportunity and they're able to capitalize on it, you don't just change their life, they have an opportunity to change multiple lives within their family. That's motive. Okay, so I want to tell you about another conversation I had on the same Hawaii trip. So the very next day, you know, Alan and Michelle and Elena and I, we had a habit of getting up in the morning and working out at the incredible fitness center that they had. And then we would go for a 4-mile walk. And in the middle of this walk, you know, Alan and I kind of start breaking a little bit away from Michelle and Elena. We started picking up the pace just a little bit. And I was reflecting on the day before in what Larry said by the pool. And Alan just made this statement. He does this all the time where he'll just make statements and it gives me a chance to think about things and sometimes clarify things, right? And he said this statement. He said, oh yeah, Larry would talk about all the time that the work of the business is a privilege. It's not an obligation. It's a privilege. And again, I got to thinking about that going, you know what? It brought me back in time to when Elena and I were 2,500 PV, and I would watch Alan and Michelle fly into the Twin Cities every 90 days to help us. Then they never showed up with a look on their face of obligation. They couldn't wait to get there because they knew that the team that Ross and Kathleen Coleman had put together was waiting for them. Man, our whole lives came to a standstill when Alan and Michelle came in town because we were so grateful, so thankful that they were willing to fly across the country and spend time with us, and they would show the plan. They would do an attitude session. They would do leaderships with us. They would go the extra mile, and we would go to Ross and Kathleen's house, and they would work on thought process. You know what I found out? The work of the business for Alan and Michelle is a privilege for them. And what a privilege it is to be a part of another person's life changing. Elena and I today, we are not the same people that we were when we first got started. Why? Maybe it's because of the environment of this team. Again, I go back to Jim Fitzgerald. Where did he learn that? Because when he showed up at that restaurant and fought through 3 feet of snow, you could tell that he wasn't there out of obligation. You couldn't keep him from being there. You could tell that it was a privilege for him too. You know, I think about this and it brings me to another point in the Hawaii trip where I had a chance to play 18 holes of golf with one of my heroes, Joe Markowitz. Understand that as a new business owner, we used to have tapes, like way back in the day, right? Tapes, and then you had CDs, and now you've got audios, and it's amazing. Way back in the day, in 1998, I would listen to Joe Markowitz tapes, and his tapes, they grew me as a person. They mobilized me. They inspired me. They taught me strategy. I still remember statements that he made, like making the move of a champion, and here I am playing 18 holes of golf with him, just the two of us, and I don't remember I think it was about hole number 9, and of course, it took about 10 minutes for Joe and I to be on the golf course. What do we start talking about? We start talking about our business. You can't keep us from talking about this business. You know why? Because it's all we want to do. It isn't a business to us. It's bigger than that. This is fun. It's a purpose. It's something that we want to do. You can't keep us from doing it. But I think it was about hole number 9, and I asked Joe a question. And here's what I've learned about questions when you get around your upline. I've learned that questions are like the combination for a lock. It's like you asking questions is what unlocks that safe that is full of information that your upline has waiting for you. So here's a question that I asked Joe. I said, Joe, you have got so many great things going on in your team right now. Speak to that a little bit. Who's making their move? Okay, we were having a great time up until this point. I literally saw the countenance in his demeanor. I saw his facial expression change. He was having a great time, but now we were going to talk about something that he was truly passionate about. And he immediately changed gears and he said, let me tell you why the environment is so amazing and what you're seeing cascading across the entire Markowitz team. It's because of couples that are stepping up and choosing to own the environment themselves. Side note, I hope you've had a chance to hear Joe's latest audio, Owning the Environment. And he went on and he talked about Roger and Roxanne Holt for about 5 minutes, which is a long time when you're focusing in on one couple. And here's what he went on to tell me. He said, you know, when Roger and Roxanne came on board with the Five Diamonds team and they started to make their move, which I saw this. I've been watching their business grow. I've been hearing their upline edify them. I know exactly what they're doing because I hear Joe talk about them all the time. He's always bragging on them. It's pretty awesome. And he says, but here's what Roger and Roxanne did. They brought an element to the team that I didn't even know was missing. They filled a void that I didn't even know needed to be filled, and it was a void of gratitude. And he said what they've done, they literally have elevated everybody else around them, and they've helped us together as a team. They've helped us create an environment that is conducive for growth. And then he immediately transitions and he starts talking about another couple, Tyler and Amanda Sheridan. And he said, let me tell you about Tyler. Let me tell you what's happened. Now, I already kind of know what's going on with Tyler because I'm watching it happen. I'm listening to Tyler and Amanda's audios. I know this is all they want to do with their life. I know they're making their move. I know they're students of Chase and Bethany McElroy. I can see what they're doing. I saw Markowitz at the last Spring Forward when Tyler was here giving a talk. I saw Joe put his face in his hands, kind of like a moment he had years ago at a Heart of a Leader, and shake his head, not out of disbelief, but out of thank God we have another couple that gets what we're trying to do here. And he spoke about Tyler and Amanda, and he said they've gone to another level again. They've become incredible communicators, but not because they give a great talk, but because they are eat up with this team, with this environment, with this business, with this opportunity. They are eat up with expanding the culture of what we're trying to do here. And because it's all they want to do, they can't help but give great talks, but they become incredible communicators. They've made the Markowitz team better. Okay. There were a lot of names that were mentioned over that period of time, and I can't stand here and list all of them because we probably talked about 20 different people. I love it when my upline goes on a roll because I pull my phone out and I'm taking notes. I could show you a whole note section that I have in my phone of just taking notes, listening to Markowitz on the golf course. I don't care about golf. I care about that time with my upline. Here's what I've learned is TheEnvironment Travels. As I had a chance to fly home on, 8 hours all the way back to the tundra, right? Because it's exactly what Minnesota is around January, February timeframe. It's tundra. So you leave 80 degrees to go to minus 10 degrees. And I had 8 hours to debrief. And as I'm sitting there in my seat and I'm looking around the plane and everybody is sleeping, I think I'm the only person awake. I can't fall asleep. I'm thinking about the conversation with Larry. I'm thinking about the conversation with Alan. I'm thinking about the time on the golf course with Joe, and I'm a changed human being again because TheEnvironment Travels. Where did Jim Fitzgerald learn to drive through 3 feet of snow to come help somebody that he really didn't even know when he could have been spending that time with his family? Because you know what? 6 months later, he went home to be with the Lord, and I know that Jim has no regrets. You couldn't keep him from doing the work. He saw the work as a privilege. He definitely had the right motive. He definitely believed in what we're doing here as far as the environment. Where did he learn that? You just heard where he learned it from. All of those men are in his upline. I left that trip a changed person. It's interesting because it immediately brought me back to 2017. I remember being in a leadership forum meeting. This is where Joe has some of his upper echelon leaders. It's invitation only. And whether it's leadership forum or some sort of a trip, doesn't matter. But I remember being in there and I watched my upline walk in and he brings in this giant pad of paper that is kind of makeshift instead of a board and easel, right? And he gets up there with a blue marker, and I love it when Joe has a whiteboard and a blue marker and he rolls his sleeves up and he goes to work. I love listening to these different talks. It's so much fun. Okay, so he gets that sheet of paper over there and he writes a line on that sheet of paper. And he said, "Men, we're gonna make a shift." Joe and Mary Beth, they hold nothing sacred. Nothing, they don't hold processes sacred. They don't hold meetings sacred. They will change on a dime, learn new things, try new things, do whatever they have to do to create an environment to make room for you. This is the part that I'm hoping people understand. Is I'm not exactly sure where you're located right now. I don't know if you're in Atlanta, Georgia. I don't know if you're in Detroit, Michigan. I don't know exactly where you're located, but I know this, we're looking for you. Joe and Mary Beth Markowitz, when Joe gave that talk below the waterline, and he was talking about people that were brand new in the business, like Lucas and Madison Jordan, when he gave that talk, they were new IBOs. That's the purpose of below the waterline. Looking for people. He challenged us, his leaders. Guys, ladies, it's not about you, it's about the people that are in your businesses. Let's mine out in depth. Let's go find them. Let's make room for them. Let's empower them. Let's give them the stage. Let's put the microphone in their hand. Let's groom them on how to have a big business. Let's get their profitability up. Let's help them generate sales. Let's help them get their structure right. They are the purveyors of the environment of this team. I was in that meeting. That entire heart of a leadership, to this day, I believe was one of the most powerful leaderships I've been in my entire life. And it was one of the most unselfish moves I've ever seen my upline make. You want to talk about bravery, making a shift with a team like that? I will tell you this, that's who your upline is. They will make as many shifts as they need to make room for you because we're looking for you. That's below the waterline. I saw below the waterline play out. I saw it in real time. I saw Joe's vision materialize. It changed my life again. Because I remember hearing from Courtney and Paige Wyatt, and I remember hearing about the decisions that Courtney made to not sell out, but instead to say, I'm staying here. This is where my heart's at. Man, I remember hearing from Kyle and Austin Brown. This is really the first time I had ever heard of them. I had never heard from Kyle and Austin. Why? They were below the waterline. I hadn't heard from Adam and Kristen Laudenberger. Why? They were below the waterline. I didn't know Lewis and Holly Myers that well. They were below the waterline. To the credit of Joe, Mary Beth, and their leaders, we followed the play. We decided to make way for people that were way down in depth and to reach down and to grab them and to pull them up. Who am I talking about here? I'm talking about you. Everything that we do in this environment is about you. And I got to tell you something. This is an environment worth selling out to. I go back to motive, like Larry talked about. This is about the name on the page. Everything we do is whatever is best for the new person is automatically what's best for us. Hey, whatever is best for the downline is automatically what's best for us. Hey, the work of the business is a privilege. It's not an obligation. And then, of course, Markowitz is we're going to make room. We're going to figure out a way, and we are going to go down into depth, and let's raise up the 1,000 PVer and help them understand that this is a place where they can do life. And these are the people that they can do life with. And that there's no better place to be. And if you're going to dedicate your life towards something, this is a good business. And it's full of good people. Sound familiar? I know you've heard that before. Markowitz has said it about 100 times. You can tell this matters a lot to me. My children are a part of this business. And when I think of the environment of this team, everything that grows up in this world that becomes something, it's because of a healthy environment. And we are looking for a way and continuing to evolve and change and sharpen and get better to make sure the environment is ready for you. Here's my question for you. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? You've got a local leader that is in a watch party with you tonight. You have a Jim Fitzgerald probably sitting next to you who's got your group drawn out on a notepad tonight going, I can't wait to meet with Steve because I got 10 plans booked for him and I can't wait to go build depth. Understand that the environment travels. Wherever you go, the environment goes. Because any one of us at any time can take ownership of that environment and bring it to the next person that we're going to call tonight or that you're going to meet tomorrow. Any one of us at any time can do that. It's up to you. It's your turn to take the mantle and to own it and to run with it. We need you with us. Let's go to work.
For existing IBOs only, not for use with prospects.